Imagine having access to the latest news at your fingertips. Introducing the newly rebranded and improved Daily Nation website. With our innovative online flipping page feature, you can read the newspaper just like you would in print. Plus, with our subscription-based model, you will get access to exclusive content, archives, and more. So why wait? Sign up now and experience the future of news. Daily Nation, now at your fingertips.
A lovely Monday evening. You are watching Millennium Television. You're still watching Millennium TV. You're welcome to the National Economic Indaba 2025 on Millennium Television. Be sure to catch us on your top study decoders on Channel 95 and on our Facebook page. We are streaming live this program on the National Economic Indaba Facebook page as well as Millennium TV Zambia. And I'm your host for this episode, Lovisa Chilufia. This evening, we are discussing localization of pharmaceutical products. And joining me on set is Economist Kelvin Chisanga to discuss this particular topic with me. Mr. Sanga, you're welcome to the National Economic Indaba. Good evening.
Thank you so much. Good evening, and good evening, Joa.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I don't know.
I must make mention that I haven't seen you in a very long time. I don't know what we did to you.
Anyway, I'm
did we offend you in some way?
I'm not commenting that I was just booked up with some activities, but I'm back and I'll be available most of the time.
Right. It's good to have you, Mr. Tsanga.
Thank you.
For our dear viewers, be sure to join in with the conversation, especially those that are just tuning in on Millennium on Facebook page. It is Millennium TV Zambia, and on Millennium TV Zambia as well as on the National Economic Indaba Facebook page. You can catch us live there, and on your top study quarters, it's on Channel 95. Be sure to follow through with the conversations this evening. Mr. Sanga, we're talking about localization of pharmaceutical products, and this discussion comes after the United States had approximately cut 1.4 billion kwacha, around $50 million US in annual aid to Zambia due to government's failure to address the systematic theft of donated medications and medical supplies. We begin our discussion by talking about this from an economist perspective and the impact this has on Zambia's economy.
Okay, so the beginning point is that the withdrawal of aid support in the health sector or health care is something that actually has a devastating impact, especially when you're looking at the way we have actually combat most of the terminal diseases in terms of their consequences. So, it comes to be a devastating factor in terms of trying to see the repercussion that will come thereafter in the work of maybe having this removal. Meaning what we'll be able to see is that there will be a lot of stabilization that will take place in the Zambia's health care. Meaning at some point we'll be able to see that we are now going to have some reversal of what we basically fought for, especially when you look at terminal diseases such as the HIV, AIDS, of course, TB and malaria, these are quite critical that we're having a very stiff intervention. So now, from the economic point of view, is that we'll be able now to go down into the budget where we're going now to upscale some of the efforts toward this, meaning we're going to shift some resources that are aligned to other sectors that are critically important as well. So meaning we have to realign ourselves to the health sector. And this is where now it's going to interplay very well in the sense that we're going to mitigate using our local resources as well. But again, with the kind of situation that we face on the budget, we learn deficit. So our deficit culture, if I may put it that way, will go a bit more compared to what we should have seen if the intervention was standing strong. So what we're going to see is that we're going to see a realignment of resources, and this becomes a biggest burden on the central government part, and much more with the treasury, it becomes all distorted because obviously we don't have so much of the resources to actually mitigate some of the things that are coming on board.
Zambia's economy right now, Mr. Sanga, you may agree with me that Zambia's economy hasn't been performing quite well. And with the coming in of, the announcement, obviously, by the U.S. ambassador to Zambia, Michael Gonzalez, talking about the U.S. government cutting off aid of 1.4 billion kwacha to Zambia's health sector. Obviously, this comes at a time when our economy is dwindling, and Zambia has taken a step further into bringing in, measures as to help us sustain this current predicament. But we're talking about an economy that is not thriving. How then do we move forward, especially in an economy that is, not thriving, and Zambia manages to, engage another company to help manufacture pharmaceutical products locally? Okay,
so this should be a light call with the partnership that is being established with the Indian's private pharmaceutical company, and the many other modalities that need to be put in place. Obviously, we're at a point where we basically need to share ideas that should be able to be productive and proactive as well, because we are at a point where we need to find some solutions given the current situation where we are faced with the removal and the cuts of hedge funds, and much to this also having a narrow budget that we also see from time to time. And much to this also, extensionally, we will also say that we face some challenges with the health sector. There are times where we've got cholera breakout and many other diseases that are transition as well. So it's from that background that we need now to find models that can work. And models that can work is to look at partnerships, based on the private-public partnership forums or platforms, as well as also even just trying to look at a joint venture that we can also venture with the local or regional markets. Like, for example, the recent announcement of what we are seeing with Namibia and many others. So it's from that background that we need to create that synergetic fusion with the regional market players as well. And again, the issue that, yes, Zambia is facing hardship in terms of economic patterns. But again, it's an opportunity that presents itself to a point where we can take advantage of what is happening. And of course, the signing up of partnership with an Indian private manufacturing company, which is basically looking at doing pharmaceutical product, that is a light call. It's a score line that I should be able to put it in line to say that I think that is what we should be able to do going forward. If anything, we can even now go by extension to have essential drugs also being manufactured so that it can help us to pull out ourselves from the total dependence that we have in terms of importation. Largely, if you look at the manufacture, the medicine and medical supplies, usually we've got a very huge space which is interplaying from the import processing. So manufacturing locally, it will create an opportunity for us even now to lower the cost on the forex market as well, because usually what takes place is that whenever we are importing medicine and fuel, and also importing any other stuff, even those that are coming in semi-finished goods, we tend to destroy the the performance of the forex market. So with the aspect to do with the local production and also upscaling local content policies as we speak in line with the national Indaba, it's an important aspect that will be able to speak into the aspiration of changing Zambia in accordance to the National Development Plan agenda. And this speaks strongly even to now the local participation of local people, which also spill out a very good element around wealth creation for Zambians. And much to this also, what we need to do as Zambians is to look at solutions that can be fully embedded with the participation of the local people.
Right. When we look at having, calling upon Akham's company to come and help manufacture, obviously this is the first African country, and this is them manufacturing medicines outside India for the first time and coming to, produce it right here, manufacture right here in Zambia. But let us talk about the economic costs of manufacturing these essential medicines, medical supplies locally, and also engaging another company to come and do it locally. In as much as we're looking at, there's not going to be any importation costs, but what does this mean also that we have to employ another company to come and do it for us?
Maybe just to put everything in context, the partnership which has been established, it is quite a formidable strategic relationship which will be able to lower the cost of medical supplies. Much to this also, it's bringing along with an aspect of skills transfer, which will be able to capacitate our Zambian people to actually even start interplaying as life goes by. Obviously, what we should be able to see that when you're exposed to the manufacturing process of what really happens there, you'll be able to be trained, and we'll train our local people from that perspective. Meaning, what we're trying to do is, of course, to lower the cost of importation and also the cost of medicine. And obviously, what we are also going to do is that we're going to have an opportunity also to explore into the regional market, meaning Zambia will become a center hub to actually facilitate some of these medicine supplies. And by extension, actually, if you look at even just the outfit itself, which is coming to Zambia, the corporate outfit, and in particular, you find that it's opening its 14th manufacturing, plant in Zambia. That also big. It's actually a very big opportunity that we should be able to tap into, trying to make sure that we basically position ourselves for growth. The industry has not been able to substantially work out to give a good base on the GDP profile. So what we see is a situation where it's going to interplay strongly on our profile, meaning what we are going to see at the end of it will even lessen some of the regulatory component that comes with this industry. And much to this also, we have seen how the off-sale sector is actually booming. So it's from this, again, the implication that will come from there economically is that we're going to even create good quality laboratories that will be able to undertake some of the R&D schemes, meaning our research and development capacity will also be enhanced from that perspective. So what we're going to do, localization of pharmaceutical product is an important aspect that is actually standing right in their place, gravitating toward the Vision 30. And of course, much more to also expand from there, we have seen how the private healthcare is playing out together with the government, meaning it will also help to incentivize some of the key factors that the health sector is actually facing as at now. Yes.
We have persons that have come forth, Mr. Chisanga. In this case, we know that the aid cut has affected public health initiatives, including HIV prevention, which was obviously coming in from the USA. We've had persons in Zambia that have come forth to say, we have the solution to this. And we're looking at a government that is keen on promoting small businesses and in just empowering, the women and the youth in the country. We've got the persons, the likes of Mr. Sondashi, who came up with the Sondashi formula to say this can cure HIV and AIDS. In a situation like this, why don't you think now is the right time for us to promote, our local people, especially that they've got these solutions, and we're looking at maybe exporting to other nations? And if we have the solutions within, why are we not looking at local solutions than looking elsewhere?
Well, I think for me, my answer will be in twofold. Growing the economy or sustaining the economy, it requires that you need to have a combination of different economic factors, especially when it comes to policy, when it comes to engagement around private sector as well. So maybe, I don't know to some extent how the Sondash formula has actually worked out in trying to give that vibrancy appeal around what they are offering. But again, the biggest factor that I would say is that it also takes government interventions to some of these, formulas that we see. Especially when you look at the Sondash formula, it has been there for some time, and we've seen a lot of discussion here and there. Of course, at a point where we are, because of the factors that overshadowed in terms of foreign-based funding, I think that's the reason why we could not focus so much on that. But again, with the current situation, it gives an opportunity for us to explore if the opportunity can be positioned in this way, meaning now with the coming up of R&D schemes, we should be able to put this to test. With the kind of invitation that is coming from India, we understand India by nature is that they are highly technological. They have got that well-vested interest in science and technology, and they are so, in terms of mathematical thinking, I think it really helps from that point. So we are also tapping into the skill, capacity, and knowledge that is actually being taken from that point, meaning we can cultivate something that can come out good for us. And this even goes further to say that even when it comes to education formula, the education setup, we need to have serious reformation that should be speaking to what we want to build. The aspiration in regards to national development plan or agenda, it speaks into some of these critical elements. And health is one of the most important aspects that we need to actually safeguard, because we believe that health is wealth. For you to actually make here a very good economic gain, you need to have a healthy, sound mind, health, sound state of life. So it's important that when you look at the health aspect, it's an important pillar that we need to anchor with a lot of conscious thinking. And this is what is actually being calling for stimulation of good policies that should be able to speak of growth and is revising the sector as well to see that we can have this sector grow. And by extension, again, also, we need a combination of even local players to actually work out. So the Sondash formula is still having a very good space given the current situation that we are exposed to. So it's an important aspect that needs to also be taken from there. And it also goes for the promoters of these formulas as well to actually come on the fore and perhaps also engage key stakeholders to see how best they can work out some of these models. Because obviously we need alternative. And alternative should not just be one, it should be a multiple system that should work out for us.
I believe we've got a lot of people, like you say, those that have got formulas to come out now and talk about their formulas. I believe that with what happened with the Sondashi formula, there's people, I personally have met people that say, this medicine can actually cure HIV and AIDS, but it's not something that we can publicly speak about because no one is going to accept. Looking at the time that we are now in, and like I said earlier, we have a government that is calling for small businesses to come out, value addition and all of that. How then do we tell our people to say, now is the time for you to come out and bring your solutions on the table and see how we can grow as a nation, especially that we also want to keep some revenue, in the country?
Yeah, so it goes with the opportunity that is being presented in the market. If you see that your formula or your medicine is able to cure something, I think it's an aggressiveness that needs also to be deployed from that. And again, also engaging with key stakeholders like policymakers and many other in the economy. I think that will be able to position yourself. Does
this also go down to not having confidence in our own people? The reliance and dependency on, just foreigners telling us, oh, this is what can be done, or us only just looking outside and saying, maybe the foreigners are the ones that can give us the solutions to what we need. I believe that Africans do have the brains. We Africans do have the brains, and we have local solutions. But can we bring this down to just not having confidence in our own people and always wanting to look outside?
I think for me, what I would say that the political umbrella or political system is what has actually destroyed where we are. Maybe I should be able to point out to say that this is what actually is happening in the United States of America, where President Donald Trump is trying to safeguard their own interest in their internal market. And this should actually be able to be a precursor even for Zambia's case and many other countries as well. We should be able to start driving effort toward local empowerment. Local content policies should be activated to the fullest capacity. Local industrialization process should be anchored with a stiff policy efforts. And this is what we're trying to see. So maybe coming to a sentiment of how we safeguard or how we look at our local people in terms of their product and everything else, I think it comes from the safety and quality assurance aspect as well. It comes from many complex of factors. Sometimes also even the behavioral aspect of purchasing is what actually brings to this kind of situation. There are times where, Lovisa, you'd want to buy something from South Africa because you feel South Africa product is strong compared to Zambia. And again, also, it also goes with what we should be able to see. What we need to do as Zambia, even from the central government point of view, of course, with policymakers, it should be a point where we need to say what we need to import in Zambia. If we do not have things that we do not produce in Zambia, then let's import. But those that are already in Zambia, we can actually cause some policy which will quarantine some such kind of product to actually enter into Zambia. Meaning what we should be able to see is that we need to put quotas on importation processing. Meaning we cannot just import everything. Whatever we are producing in Zambia should not be imported. That's what we should be able to do. And many countries have done that. So this is what we need to actually drive strongly. And that is what is actually even lying in tandem with the national economic Indaba. Right. Meaning we're promoting the local product and we want to safeguard the local market so that we can basically blossom from there. If we have people that are interplaying the local market, meaning they will not be able to, actually the central bank and many other banks will not be able to see the capital flight, meaning we'll not be able to get dollars out of the country and deploy it there. We'll be able to contend with that dollar. Or we'll be able to contend with the money inside, and we'll be able to do something that can stand substantially well and good. And it will also benefit at the end of it a large number of people out there. So the economic interest should be drawn toward local citizens. And that's what we need to promote at all possible costs.
How do we then stop depending on importation if with all the resources that Zambia is endowed with, we're not really taking advantage of what we are blessed with as a nation, as a country? We are talking 60 years of independence, and this is why you and I are seated here, and this is why we are having a discussion around the National Economic Indaba 2025, because these are issues that we're looking to address at the forthcoming National Economic Indaba. So how is it that 60 years of independence, Zambia is still looking at, foreign entities to probably, improve our development? I mean, to develop Zambia, while we're still looking at foreign entities to come and invest in Zambia, when we have all these resources that we can use even within, and as you said, even to promote our local markets and for people to have access to markets, especially our SMEs, because that's the agenda of the National Economic Indaba. How then do we promote, our SMEs if we look outside?
Yeah, that is where the gist of the matter is now, where there is a strong, delicate balance in between, embracing the foreigner who is actually coming to interplay into the market and also embracing the local market. What we should be able to do is to work on the policy stimulation models. And this calls for a proper modification, which should be able to be suitably stand on each and every category that is falling there. What I mean by saying this is that if we have got foreigners who want to interplay into Zambia with their investment packages and whatever it is that is there, they should come with a substantial threshold of activities, meaning we should not just give each and every stakeholders who's coming outside with anything, even poultry house. What we need to do is that we need to make preservation of certain projects to Zambians, meaning certain sectors of the economy need to be anchored by Zambian. Lovisa, it's ionic to find somebody doing village chicken from China. It's ionic to find somebody coming from UK to come and do village chicken, or even just doing broilers. Some of this business should be left in the hands of Zambians, and that is what we need to drive. Let the investor come with a machinery to do the mining. Let the investor come with something substantially big capital equipment to do something that will stand a good test of time.
But why are we not taking, allow me to bring in an example of Burkina Faso. The current leader in Burkina Faso has taken drastic steps to ensure change in their country. Why can Zambia do the same, Mr. Sanga? I mean, 60 years, as I've said, and this is what we've been discussing, and this is the agenda of the National Economic Indaba. 60 years of Zambia's independence. Why should we wait for a foreigner to bring in equipment into our country and help us with the mining when we can do it ourselves? 60 years of independence. Why should Zambia depend on, the foreigners to come into the country and put up solar plants for us and tell us to say, you need to invest? Why should we depend so much on the foreigners? Why are we failing to take drastic measures when it comes to safeguarding our minerals, when it comes to just developing our nation?
Okay, maybe this goes down to the political system that we have developed over time. I think, allow me to maybe just sound a bit...
political?
I don't know if it's political, but I cannot say like that. It's that our mindset, somehow, we have got poor mindset toward a lot of things in the economy. And this democratic system that we have developed also really underpins all these aspects. The happenings that we are seeing in Burkina Faso through IB, it's something that is actually coming with a strong mind, where if we basically try to tend to to focus like what is doing, I think it will be important that we should be able to look at something in a similar manner. And much to this also is that we've got a lot of minerals that should be able to speak into what you're talking about. But again, also, it's the kind of political, administrative pattern that we have made. And much to this also is the issue to do with the politics that is always, taking shape from one end to another. And again, the education system that we have developed in Zambia is what has also given us to where we are. We are getting to our tertiary education, or up to even certainly postgraduate studies, only to be told that you should be wearing the suit and work for these people. We are not told to actually match with the industry requirement from the word go, meaning our education pattern has also really helped us to see ourselves in this weakness. But what we should be able to do is that I think it's high time now we are realizing to say, I think we need to reshape ourselves. And this calls for education reformation, which should be seriously anchored from that perspective. And the aspect of seeing what we are seeing from other countries like the Sahel countries, Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, it's a good testament that is actually pointing in the way that we should be able to reshape our thinking. And that also is presenting as a litmus test on our side, which will be able to help us. And not only that also, I think even just the governance system around COMESA, SADC is in tune with what is happening, like already established platform to operate. And this is what we are saying. Okay, of course we need to have a pragmatic and drastic measure that should be able to take place from there. We don't need to wait for an investor to come with a capital machinery. But again, the capital formation that is in Zambia is quite poor. How do you build that? It's of course from the point of trying to assess a number of key economic assets that we are also grappling with. Zambia has got so much potential, but it's only maybe the management that we are losing out to safeguard some of these things. It's important that we are realizing this aspect in tandem with the National Economic Indaba, meaning we will take stock of what is supposed to be done, and that is what is now coming from there. So meaning what we should be able to see is that the more we are interrogating with these questions, the more we are thinking through, I think it will bring that substantial effect in a way, because it's from the discussion we are provoked, it's from different exposure that we're also exposed to. That's when we come up with the innovative and creative solutions. Right. So I believe Zambia is going in the right direction, considering where we are and where we're coming from. I'm sure where we're coming from, we never used to talk all these issues. But today we are critically looking into so many issues. Like in this year, we are talking of trying to assess how much minerals do we have in Zambia by carrying that geo mapping system, which now we entail to say we can now well package our mineral assets. We will know that when you go to the east, the most prominent features in terms of mineral, it's this, and we go to the north, just like that. So basically what we're trying to do is to assess what we have, and even when it comes to doing what we can do, even as local people, I think it's more justifiable, very imperative that we are now reshaping ourselves to the critical requirements of what we should be able to do. And much to this also, as a last point, I think Zambians have realized that there is an important element that needs to be undertaken, and this important aspect is an aspect where they have to enterprise themselves as opposed to just getting employed. That has actually been placed right in the center, and I believe going forward, give Zambia 5 years, 10 years from now, I don't think people will be rushing into government. People will be rushing to do business on their own. That is what you are seeing. You are seeing a lot of appetite, being drawn in the private sector. And we are changing the narrative. So I'm sure with the momentum that we have right now, we should be able to see some of these things reshaping very well,
Much as we have people that have got the appetite to do businesses, I personally have the appetite to do the business, Mr. Sanga, to run a business. I'm sure you, as an economist, you've got you're running your own company. You're doing chickens as well. All of us have got the appetite to run a business at some point. But some of the issues that we're discussing at the National Economic Indaba are the issues to do with access to finance, access to markets, which you have spoken about. I can have a business idea, but where do I get the money? Where I might have a little capital, but at some point I'll need to grow my business and I'll need to probably source money externally. But where do I access the finances? What is my target market? If I have a target market, how do I get my products to that particular market? And maybe this is where you talk about policies that are put in place. Yes. So how do we do that?
So you see, it's not only the aspect of policy that speaks into impediment for growth. It's an aspect also to do with ourselves as well. If you were to just go across Tanganyika here, Tanzania, you find people form strategic partnerships to make things easier and workable. In our case, we believe in working alone. The silo kind of structure that we have is what also basically takes us into that direction. Because, Robisa, you may be thinking of doing business because you are thinking alone. You've got limited capacity to do that. But there are opportunities that you can also form partnership with even 3 or 4 people. Or you can even make a cooperative sort of arrangement where you go into business and do something substantially good there.
We have trust issues, Mr. Sir.
So that is when the issue is that we also have an issue of mindset, not only the policy which comes to impede our growth, but even the character that we possess, the behavioral patterns, the attitude toward one another, the trust issues that we're talking about, and many other compounding factors. So those are the strong elements that stand very strong, even when it comes to aspect of that nature. But looking at what we should be able to do, I think it's more important that we need also to look at partnerships. Lovisa, if I see that you've got strength in one area, I would love to partner with you so that we do with the business. But the mindset is what actually takes us to that. What basically look at is the issue of saying, is one enjoying and all those things. I think even from the word go, we have found that I would still point to the education system, because education is what has actually given us to this. Minds. If anything, I would blame sometimes at some point the education formula that we use. You'll find that you want to go into a business, you have so much of mathematical thinking around the risk issues and all that. But if you were to look at a person who hasn't been to school, they are even striving. They are even going into risky, high-profile businesses, which we basically sometimes, as people who have passed through the desks and the tables, we think through to say, can I do this? At the end of it all, what we feel is that I am educated, I can't do that. But our friends who have not even gone a little bit further, they are the ones who are even counting money every day. I've seen people who have not gone to the university, they are the ones who've got money. Some of them, I may mention one, but I don't want to discredit that person, but that person, he has even given some bit of money to Zambia. Part of the data portfolio that we have, that person is a university dropout, but he is one person who has bought part of government securities, and a large part of it is actually belonging to him. So what we should be able to say is that it's not about education. It's about the attitude also. It's about the culture. It's about the mindset. It's about everything. So I think it's important that we are talking these discussions so that we can reaffirm our thinking and make sure that we align ourselves to the prosperous nation that we should be able to build. Otherwise, if we do not have the capacity of wealth creation, it becomes an effect also on the growth, because again, it also goes with you, Lovisa, and many others to interplay into the economy. The economy cannot just be made without our participation. Of course, we have made in such a way that the mining sector and many other big sectors are the ones that are bringing money, even from the point of personal, as an individual, you can also make something into the nation, meaning your tax that you are paying, you are also growing the economy from that perspective. The work that you are servicing, anything that you are doing. So it only takes one matchstick to light up fire. So it calls for one who is at home, it calls for you, Lovisa, it calls for every one of us to combine effort. If anything, the aspect of having relationship into business is also an important aspect, where if you see that the product is demanding more volume of money for you to service that product, invite more people, more other people to come and help you. Then share the money at the end of it all. That's what's supposed to happen. Right. But in Zambia, we are so selfish. When it comes to an aspect of coming up with manufacturing items, we cannot even go that route of even putting our minds together or our monies together and acquire equipment. It becomes difficult because at the end of it all, Lovisa, you want to shine, to say, oh, Lovisa is driving a BMW, is driving a latest vehicle. That is the mindset which we have. We do not first prioritize work before anything else. I want to be seen driving a very expensive vehicle. I want to be seen having a very expensive house. That's a mindset which is very wrong. What we should be able to do is first to make money, then those things will follow afterward.
All right. As we near the end of our discussion, maybe just talking about the localization of pharmaceutical products, Zambia is set to start manufacturing its pharmaceuticals locally, but as we talk about low, cost of production, since we're not importing, are we also putting at the back of our heads what the impact will be on the consumer?
Well, okay, yes. Right this moment as we speak, we are producing Panadol. We are also about to start producing the medicine for cholera. We'll mitigate cholera wherever it comes because we're going to produce locally. And not only that also, I think before I go even much further, there is a need for us to involve so much into primary health services. What I mean by saying this is that even when you look at the context of NEMA, maybe I can just dissect a bit. What I mean by saying this is that NEMA is losing money based on not involving so much on the primary health care. Meaning, what we are trying to see is that they are only having intervention at secondary level, where somebody's got that disease, that's when they're coming. But you see, there are these communicable diseases that should be able to be mitigated by exercise, by some mere, primary exercise that need to be put there. And not only that, also, even when it comes to communication, I think the aspect of communication is not being able to be well cascaded. And that's the reason why we tend to find ourselves in this situation. Now, coming back to localization of medicine, yes, we are actually doing very well in terms of trying to push ourselves toward that. We've seen how some pharmaceutical companies have also set up in economic zones, and also we've seen how it has come out to be with some other medicine that we can primarily work with, especially when you look at Panadol and many other small medicine that really helps us as biotic. The only challenge that we have is that we do not have oral or liquid medicine being made as of now, but we are getting there. The efforts that are being flamed in terms of policy instrumentation are speaking so strongly to drive ourselves into that direction. Right. Then in terms of small players in the market, I think we do not have so much of materials that we should be able to use. So you find most of them are using now traditional or herbal medicines. We've heard of several shops that are doing herbal. And again, we have not gone down to the route of research and development. Yes, herbal can also be used in some way. We've seen, maybe if I may typically mention the Umoyo, we've seen how it has worked out, and we've seen many others. Some of these have actually even gone a step further to actually register their brand mark, and that is the reason why it even speaks so strong when they're in the market. But with the current situation, I think it's cause for us to look at how best can we also develop the dosa. You know, the medicine requires a dosa. So if we can go with that direction, it can also help us. So what we need is to drive strongly toward the, technicalities around the medicine itself. And in Zambia, we don't have a university or a college that can teach you how to make medicine. So this is an opportunity that should also be able to cascade into university, levels, so that we should be able to drive that passionate, commitment to ensure that even when it comes to the university, be it at the University of Zambia or anywhere else, they should now start looking at medicine, making a medicine, as opposed to just learning how to dispense medicine from the pharmacy. So that should be able to stand very strong. And not only that also, I think it's high time we learn more of chemical science so that we can actually drive ourselves to this. And by the way, what we should be able to see also is that our education pattern should be emphasized more on science and technology. Right. It's from this platform of science and technology we can actually basically drive ourselves to start now doing manufacturing of medicine. So chemical science is an important aspect as we develop this, and now it even calls for research and development schemes. So meaning we should now start thinking of having national research development center, which should be able now to speak into the health sector. And of course, the other element that I would also have to mention is that as Zambia faces this age cut and removal, it's important that we need to also invest and establish a medical trust fund, which should be able to help us. Because with that fund, it will now even help, which will be able to anchor even the operations of NIMA, and it will also help to actually win back some of the donors. Because with that arrangement, it will act as a sovereign fund pool, which will be able now to mitigate some of the challenges that the sector of health faces. And with that arrangement as well, we'll be able to meet more growth-driven aspect in terms of policy objectives and many other aspects that should be able to play out from there.
Right. Mr. Chisanga, thank you so much for coming through to the National Economic Indaba. It's been a pleasure having a discussion with you.
Thank you so much.
All right, our dear viewer, you've been watching the National Economic Indaba 2025 on Millennium Television. Thank you so much for tuning in. Mr. Kelvin, Chisanga, an economist, was joining me this evening as we were looking at localization of pharmaceutical products. And I've been your host, Lovisa Chilufi, until Friday. Do stay tuned to Millennium TV, and God bless.
Imagine having access to the latest news at your fingertips. Introducing the newly rebranded and improved Daily Nation website. With our innovative online flipping page feature, you can read the newspaper just like you would in print. Plus, with our subscription-based model, you will get access to exclusive content, archives, and more. So why wait? Sign up now and experience the future of news. Daily Nation, now at your fingertips.